Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. I'm Annie, and today we're talking about transportation. Transportation sounds like a very ordinary topic, but it's something we deal with every single day.
Hi, Annie, and hello to all our listeners. Yeah, transportation is everywhere. It's cars, buses, trains, planes, bicycles, ferries, even walking. Some people think it's boring, but for me, it's actually fascinating.
Same here, because transportation is not only about moving from one place to another, it's also about experiences, memories, challenges, and sometimes even culture.
That's right. A bus ride in one country can feel completely different from a bus ride in another. A train trip in Asia feels different compared to one in Europe.
Exactly. So today, we'll keep it relaxed, like two friends chatting. We'll share our personal transportation experiences, talk about our favorite ways of getting around, explore cultural differences, give some practical tips, and of course, share funny stories.
I'm excited already. Because whenever I think of transportation, I don't just think about vehicles. I think about little adventures, like missing a bus and discovering a new cafe, or chatting with strangers on a train.
Yes, I love that. Okay, let's warm up before diving deeper. Do you remember your first big transportation memory, Max?
Oh, I do. I was maybe 8 or 9. My parents took me on a long overnight train ride. I remember staring out of the window for hours, watching small villages pass by and listening to the sound of the train. It felt like the world outside was endless.
That's a beautiful memory. For me, it was my first time riding a small bicycle around the neighborhood. I wasn't going anywhere special, just riding in circles, but it felt like freedom. I thought I was exploring the whole world.
That's great. And that shows transportation is not only about distance. Sometimes even short rides feel like adventures when you're young.
Exactly. That's why today will be fun. We'll treat transportation not just as vehicles, but as stories.
Perfect. Shall we move on to our first section, personal transportation experiences?
Yes, let's go. Max, do you remember your very first time using public transportation alone?
Oh, yes, I do. I was about 14 years old and I had to take a bus across town. I was so nervous that I checked the route map like 5 times before leaving home. When I finally got on the bus, I sat right behind the driver just to feel safe.
I can imagine that. My first time was riding a bicycle to school when I was about 10. At first, I was scared of the traffic, especially when bigger cars passed by. But over time, I started to love the independence. It was like, wow, I can go anywhere by myself now.
Bicycles are a big step toward freedom. You don't realize it when you're a kid, but learning to ride teaches you balance, courage, and patience.
Exactly. And it's funny because back then, going just a few blocks felt like a huge adventure.
Same with my first train ride. I was still young, and the train ride wasn't very long, but I remember staring out of the window and thinking the world looked completely different from that moving perspective.
Oh, I love that feeling. Train rides are special. There's something calming about the rhythm of the train, the sound of the tracks, and the scenery changing slowly.
Yes, and sometimes it's not even about the destination, it's the journey itself.
I agree. I also remember my first airplane flight. I was nervous at takeoff, but when I saw the clouds below, I couldn't stop smiling. It felt magical.
Oh, wow, me too. My first flight was unforgettable. I remember my ears popping, the cabin pressure, and then suddenly looking out the window and seeing the city get smaller and smaller. It felt like I was leaving one world and entering another.
That's a perfect description. Airplanes make you realize how huge and connected the world is.
True. But also the small things are memorable too. Like my first time driving a car alone after getting my license. My hands were sweating the whole time, but I was so proud when I parked safely.
I know the feeling. I remember gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. It was both scary and exciting.
And after that, you suddenly feel grown up. Like, yes, now I can go wherever I want.
Exactly. And transportation teaches responsibility too. You have to plan, follow rules, and be careful, not just for yourself, but also for others.
That's right. Even small mistakes, like missing a bus or forgetting a train schedule, teach you lessons.
I once got on the wrong bus and ended up in a completely different neighborhood. At first, I panicked, but later it became a funny story.
I had a similar experience. I once missed my stop because I was so busy daydreaming. I had to walk a long distance back, but it actually turned into a nice walk.
That's the thing. Transportation mistakes often turn into little adventures.
Absolutely. And sometimes those unexpected moments stay in your memory longer than the planned ones.
So true. For me, one of the best memories is cycling with my friends after school. We laughed, raced each other, and stopped at small shops. It was such a simple joy.
I can imagine. I had something similar with my cousins. We used to ride old motorcycles in the countryside, slowly, just enjoying the air and the open road.
That sounds amazing. Countryside rides are so peaceful.
Yes, you don't need traffic lights or crowded roads, just nature, open space, and time to think.
And I guess that's the beauty of transportation. Whether it's a bus in the city or a bike in the countryside, it's part of our story.
Exactly. Every ride, no matter how small, adds a little chapter to our life.
Well said, Max. So I think our listeners can also reflect on their first transportation experiences. It's fun to remember them, right?
Definitely. And maybe they'll realize, like us, that even ordinary trips can be meaningful.
Perfect. Shall we move on to our next section, talking about our favorite modes of transport?
Yes, let's do it.
So, Max, let's talk about favorites. What's your favorite mode of transportation?
Honestly, I'd say trains. They're comfortable, you can walk around, and you get to see the scenery. It feels less stressful than flying or driving.
That's interesting. I like trains too, but if I had to choose, I'd say bicycles. They're simple, healthy, and they give me this sense of freedom.
Oh, bicycles are wonderful. You can stop anywhere, explore small streets, and you don't have to worry about traffic jams too much.
Exactly. And they're eco-friendly, which is another big reason I love them. It feels good to know you're not polluting the air.
True. But for long distances, trains still win for me. I once took a 6-hour train ride, and it was one of the most relaxing trips ever. I read, listened to music, and just stared out the window.
That sounds lovely. I guess trains allow you to slow down. Planes are faster, but you don't get to enjoy the journey as much.
Right. Planes are about speed and efficiency. Trains are about experience.
For me, another favorite is walking. I know it sounds too simple, but walking in a new city is magical. You notice details that you'd miss if you were in a car or bus.
I agree. When I travel, I often spend hours just walking around. You can smell the food from small restaurants, hear people's conversations, and see architecture up close.
Exactly. Walking makes you feel connected to the place.
Do you like driving, Annie?
Driving is okay, but not my favorite. In big cities, traffic makes me stressed. On the other hand, driving in the countryside feels great because the roads are open and peaceful.
That's a good point. I enjoy driving on long highways with music playing. It feels like freedom, like you're in your own little world.
That's true. The right music can make driving so much fun.
You know what's funny? Sometimes my favorite mode of transportation depends on my mood. If I want peace, I choose walking. If I want speed, I take a plane. If I want to relax, it's the train.
That makes sense. Transportation isn't just about distance, it's also about emotions.
Exactly. And sometimes the best experiences come when you mix them, like biking in the morning, then taking a train in the afternoon.
I love that idea. It makes the journey more diverse and exciting.
So, if you had to pick just one forever, which one would you keep?
That's hard. But I think I'd choose walking. Because as long as I can walk, I can explore, meet people, and stay healthy.
That's a beautiful answer. I think I'd stick with trains. They give me comfort, time to think, and a moving view of the world.
Nice. I think between us, we've covered both simple and big ways of moving. Max, one thing I love about transportation is how different it can be in every country. Have you noticed that?
Definitely. When I traveled to Japan, I was amazed at how punctual the trains were. If the schedule said 9:01, the train arrived exactly at 9:01.
Wow, that's impressive. In my city, buses sometimes come 10 or even 20 minutes late, and nobody's really surprised.
Same here. It's part of daily life, I guess. But in Japan, people even apologize if the train is 1 minute late.
That shows how important time is in their culture. In contrast, when I visited Italy, transportation felt more relaxed. Trains were late, but people didn't seem too stressed about it.
I noticed that too. In some European countries, the attitude is, don't worry, it'll come eventually. It feels very different from Asia.
Another difference I've seen is bicycles. In the Netherlands, everyone rides a bike. There are bike lanes everywhere, and it feels completely safe.
Yes. In Amsterdam, I saw grandmothers and even people in suits biking to work. It was inspiring.
Exactly. But in some cities, riding a bike is almost impossible because of traffic or the lack of bike paths.
True. When I lived in a big city, I wanted to cycle, but I felt unsafe on the roads. Cars were too fast and drivers didn't respect cyclists.
That's such a cultural thing. In places where cycling is normal, drivers automatically look out for bikes.
Right. And then there's public transport etiquette. In some countries, people line up perfectly to get on the bus or train. In others, it's more like a crowd rushing in.
Oh, yes, I've experienced that. In London, people queue politely. In other places, you need to be quick or you'll miss your spot.
Massively. Another cultural difference is how people use cars. In the US, cars are essential. Cities are spread out and public transport is limited in many areas.
That's true. Meanwhile, in cities like Hong Kong or Singapore, most people rely on public transport because it's so efficient and cars are very expensive.
Exactly. So the culture of transportation reflects the economy and lifestyle too.
And it even affects how people see freedom. Some cultures think having a car means independence. Others believe freedom is being able to walk or take the train anywhere.
That's a really good point. Transportation isn't just about moving. It's about values, habits, and even identity.
Yes, and when you travel, noticing these small differences makes you understand the culture better.
For example, when I took a train in India, it was crowded and noisy, but I felt so much energy and life. It was chaotic, but beautiful.
That's such a nice description. I had a similar feeling in Vietnam when I saw the sea of motorbikes. At first, it looked crazy, but then I realized it's a kind of organized chaos.
Yes, once you understand the rhythm, it makes sense.
So, cultural differences in transportation teach us to be flexible and open-minded.
Absolutely. And sometimes the best travel memories come from those differences.
Couldn't agree more. Max, I think we've covered a lot today.
Yes, we really did. From our first experiences to favorite ways of traveling and cultural differences.
It feels like we took a little journey just by talking about transportation.
That's true. A journey without moving anywhere.
But that's the beauty of conversation, right? You can travel in your mind.
Exactly. And I hope our listeners felt that too.
If I look back, one thing that stands out is how transportation is never just about moving. It's about the feelings and the stories.
I agree. A bus ride can be boring, but it can also be the place where you notice life happening around you.
Or a train trip can turn into a memory that stays with you forever.
Yes, even when things go wrong, like delays or missed stops, they often become funny stories later.
That's true. I think we should remind our listeners to enjoy the process, not just the destination.
Well said. Traveling with patience and curiosity makes everything better.
And maybe our tips can help someone feel more confident on their next trip.
I hope so. Small things like planning, keeping safe, or carrying water can change the whole experience.
You know what I liked most about today's talk?
What?
That we shared not only information, but also emotions. Transportation is full of stories, big and small.
Yes, and that's why it's fun to talk about. It connects people everywhere.
Before we say goodbye, should we leave our listeners with one last piece of advice?
Good idea. Mine would be stay open-minded. Different countries, different rules. Just adapt and learn.
Nice. Mine would be Don't rush too much. Sometimes the slowest journey is the one you remember most.
Oh, that's beautiful, Annie.
Thank you, Max. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Yes, we really appreciate your time.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation and maybe even learned a new phrase or idea.
And if you did, share your thoughts with us. We'd love to hear your own transportation stories.
Until next time, travel safely and enjoy every ride.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.